So, it's now been a month since I was elected as your new deputy leader, and what a month it's been. My first week wasn't even over, and Liz Truss had become our Prime Minister. As with any new Prime Minister, we have to hope for the good of the country that she can rise to the scale of the challenges facing us. We do have to hope, but previous experience suggests not only that she can't, but she won't. In fact, in a very short space of time, she's already made things considerably worse. And rather than reversing her awful decisions, she looks like she's just going to keep digging deeper and deeper. And we know all this not just because we listened to that catastrophic mini-budget last Friday, but because we actually talk to people every day, on their doorsteps, on picket lines, at bus stops. We know the problems. And in the Green Party, we know the solutions too. We know that the same solutions to tackle the cost of living crisis are the exact same solutions to tackle the climate crisis. From insulating homes, to investing in renewables, to pushing hard for the fundamental human right to breathe clean air. We have been pushing on these plans for decades, and more recently, across the country, we have been implementing them, turning them into real action that changes people's lives. So when I say there's no environmental justice without racial, economic, and social justice too, what do I actually mean? Well, it's this idea that everything is interconnected. We want system change. We cannot have business as usual. So let's look at these a little bit deeper. And let's begin with environmental justice. The IPCC, that's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, says we need to reach peak emissions within the next 18 months. Seems to me that other parties simply haven't heard this call, or they are choosing not to hear it. As Greta Thunberg said, "Is my microphone on?" We in the Green Party have consistently placed protection of our planet at the heart of everything we do, and we will continue to do so. We also know, though, that in order to achieve that, our society must simultaneously tackle the other injustices too. They are embedded in it, so let's talk about those. Now, they are so often the consequences of colonialism, and we need to name that. A society built deliberately on the exploitation of people in order to fuel our society's reliance on fossil fuels. The most recent United Nations report finally included a line about colonialism. Brazilian indigenous activist Taylor Tirana opened the People's Pavilion at COP26 with these words: "Colonialism caused climate change." And she also said that our rights and traditional knowledge as indigenous people are the solution. And she's absolutely right. Not only do colonial states exploit the land and resources that others are dependent on, they have devastated ecosystems too. We need to listen to the people who are bearing the worst brunt of the crisis. They have often done the least to cause it. That's why you can't have environmental justice without racial justice too. And here in the UK, let's take air pollution, for example. Whether it's campaigning against incinerators, or new road building projects, or voting against cuts to public transport. Far too often, these occur in the middle of communities of people of color, who often feel like they don't have access to representation or power, that there's nothing they can do. I was having this exact conversation this week in Manchester with Councillor Akua Bayu. Akua has just joined the Green Group from the Labour Party. Welcome, Akua. She is joining Astrid Johnson and Rob Nunney as our Manchester councillors. What a team. And indeed. Now, me and Akua were speaking at an event with the Young Greens at the University of Manchester, and Akua spoke powerfully about the community she serves in Hume. She spoke about the need for green politics to not be abstract, but to be with communities, to be active, supporting people who may never have the resource or opportunity to literally get their hands in the soil. We know as a party, we need to do more to reach out to these communities. And we need to be absolutely clear that we will always stand with them. And then, on to social justice. We're in a cost of living crisis, but we know this is really an income crisis. For years, people's wages have remained stagnant or fallen, while shareholders take home large dividends, while people at the top have seen their profits skyrocket and lucrative contracts awarded to their mates. The Tories will never acknowledge their mismanagement of our economy, their ideological-driven so-called trickle-down economics, and the unforgivable lifting of the cap on bankers' bonuses. Conference, have they not noticed? People are suffering. And with the inequality crisis too, it is the most vulnerable people in our society who are always being hit the hardest. I've been proud to be out on picket lines with working people. We know in this party, when people ask for our help, we give it. Ultimately, there is only one authentic response to people struggling to get by, and in the Green Party, we know that response is solidarity. And yet, we have another cabinet set on ripping up our human rights, creating phony culture wars. They literally have one tactic: to scapegoat, to other, to blame. When I was elected as deputy leader, I talked about being the first Jewish and gay deputy leader in British history. And some people online, thank you. Thank you. And although in this hall I can hear that's appreciated, some people online said, why is that relevant? You know, it's a fair question, but I think there's an even fairer answer. Representation is important. Diversity is important. Not just for me to advocate for my communities, although I'll certainly do that too, but it's massively important that I use this literal platform to campaign and speak with, rather than for, those people who do not have that voice. There are so many people. There are so many people out there who do not have this opportunity, who feel unseen, unheard, unrepresented. And we as a party can both connect to those people and take their worries and needs and speak truth to power. And crucially, be there to protect them when they want it, when the powerful hold them in their sights. So, whether it's refugees, the Gypsy Roma traveller communities, people with disabilities, and or the LGBTIQA plus community, and of course that includes trans people. There is no LGB without the T. History has horrifically demonstrated we need to stick together, because we know that when they come for one of us, they come for all of us. And conference, we will stick together. environmental justice, racial justice, social justice. We will not let them get away with any dereliction of duty. Now, people might say we are virtue signaling. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to signal towards virtuousness. And they can call us woke. Fine. Yes, we are awake, we are alert, and we are ready to go. And whilst others may sleep through all the alarms, ringing for climate, ringing for the cost of living, we are the ones leaping to action. We do not have time to keep hitting snooze. And then there's economic justice. We talk about this winter being difficult, if not impossible for people, and that is shockingly true. But those in power need to also face up to the fact. Millions of people in the UK in 2022 are already living in extreme poverty. Damp, cold, moldy homes, struggling to keep food on the table, struggling to pay their rising bills. We as a party have long advocated for plans like a universal basic income. We know this has the potential to lift millions of people out of poverty. In London, where I'm elected to the Assembly and chair the Environment Committee with my incredible colleagues Sean Berry and Caroline Russell. What a team, and I can say that even being in it. Thank you, guys. Now, I've been making the case to the mayor to do a pilot scheme of a universal basic income, and I've recently commissioned a report looking at how we can best engage with local communities and have these exact conversations. It's these examples that are happening all over England and Wales, elected Greens and local members, understanding the power of good ideas and making change in their communities. Now, we know economic justice is not just about money. All too often, with poverty, it is often a lack of time and space that means people struggle to use resources or have resources to just get through everyday life, to get everything sorted and in order, to overcome the anxiety that can literally grip their chest on a daily basis. That's why it's so crucial that we get more Greens elected so we can turn the power of our good ideas into a reality. And talking of good ideas, you can't have environmental, racial, social, or economic justice without democratic justice too. You didn't think I was going to get through a speech without mentioning first past the post, did you? Our broken voting system has never worked for anyone. The difference now is that everyone has started to notice we're stuck. Time and again in general elections, people see candidates like our Prime Minister say she doesn't even mind being unpopular, as she knows on a tiny minority of a vote, she can get first past that post. We know if we want grown-up politics, grown-up collaborations that work in everyone's best interests, then we need proportional representation. It is no longer a question of if, it is when. So let me say this to Keir Starmer. Listen to your members. We're delighted that Labour members and unions have backed proportional representation in overwhelming numbers. We saw the feed in their conference hall as people raised their hands for a fairer voting system. I punched the air and celebrated, but very quickly, reality started to bite. Keir is saying no. No to fairer votes. He's saying not a priority. We have a broken voting system that means people are not represented properly in decisions from everything, from transport to policing to our NHS. Literally, being people's representative is one of the most fundamental duties and privileges of being an elected politician. It's not okay to present representation as unimportant or a distraction. It's not okay to continue to support a broken status quo and hope no one notices. For a society that includes everyone, that has to include the right for a fair vote for everyone. And in the Green Party, representing people is our priority. And conference, we are representing people. Greens all across England and Wales are proving, even with the odds stacked against us, even with the huge sums of money ploughed into the other parties by big business, we are still winning and will continue to win, even under the current voting system. Just this month in Lancaster, we saw Sue Tydesley take us from 33% to a whopping 65.7% of the vote, becoming one of our newest councillors. Huge congratulations to Sue and the entire team. Now, this isn't even that an unusual story. Over and over again, as local elections come through, we see the power of an organized Green campaign team, embedded in a local community, knocking on doors and getting out the vote. But it's not just at local level. The media nationally is starting to notice it too. Professor Sir John Curtis saying, "The Greens are a force in British politics that simply cannot be ignored." And Labour, they have copied our conference slogan almost identically. What can I say other than, we love recycling? And that includes recycling jokes as well. Joking aside, it is heartening when other parties take our ideas. And in London, for example, with my colleagues Sian and Caroline, London Mayor Sadiq Khan regularly takes up our ideas and implements them, and in doing so, genuinely makes millions of people's lives better. But it is time to cut out the middlemen. And so, we all turn to Parliament. Caroline Lucas. One of the few names that you can just say her name and evoke a whoop. She is an amazing MP. She is doing brilliant work and punching far above her weight. Just imagine a whole parliament of Caroline Lucases, or less weirdly, especially for Caroline, a whole parliament of people embodying what she does. Speaking truth to power with an authenticity, a compassion, and a care we rarely see in our politics. We need to see people like Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey join her. We need to see Green Party candidates becoming Green MPs, and we need to see them urgently speaking out and taking action on taking action that this country desperately needs. It's so exciting, it is tongue-twisting. And to do this, we do need to grow. It's wonderful that you're all here and that you're engaged. And we all know people who would want to be here or join the party, but no one's asked them. So please, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your colleagues. Now is the perfect time to join our movement. Let's go and see it grow. Conference. We know we're not powered by big business. We are powered by people. People like local party chairs, leaflet deliverers, people who manage social media accounts, collect data, or make food for activists on action days a vital job. Everyone's contribution is hugely welcomed and has played a huge part in our past success. I want to thank every single person, both in this hall, watching online, and more widely, who have worked so hard to gain us the success we already have earned. But there is still so much work to do. So let's get to it. Person by person, town by town, city by city. That's how we grow. That's how we have justice. That's how we change our country. Conference, let's go.